Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel and blog. I'm Jenny Hall, and today I have another card making tutorial. This is going to be a very easy card today. Only 2 cardstocks, 2 ink colors, and 1 very important paper trimmer. The way I'm going to approach this card today is I will do some background stamping on my card base and then put another overlay of white cardstock, and we're going to chop it. I will start today by using Balloon Celebration stamp set. This is a really good stamp set because it allows me to be able to make cards for different occasions. It's not just a birthday card stamp set, it can be for all kinds of things. This card today theme is going to be Let Us Celebrate, and there's a really nice stamp in this stamp set that says Let Us Celebrate. So I'm making this card for just a celebration, and I can always go inside the card whenever I'm gifting it to somebody and write birthday or do whatever I need to put inside. This stamp set is a multi-stamp stamp set, and what that means is that you use more than one stamp to complete one image. So first thing that I did was to stamp the balloon image, it's the small balloon, in pink pirouette. And then I went over that with the kind of textury, sprinkly looking stamp. And what I think it's supposed to do is add dimension to the balloon. And you go right over that first image that you stamped. And so what it does is intensifies the color and it adds the look of texture. One thing you can do with this stamp set that works out really well is to overlap the images. So what I did on one of the balloons was to overlap a balloon to where when something appears behind the other, it does give a little bit of a darker color crossover. And I think that worked out really well with using this stamp set. For the front panel of the card, I'm taking the Let Us Celebrate. I think it's supposed to be able to double for a balloon string. There's a lot of different things that I see that I could do with this. But I'm just stamping it in a repeat kind of pattern. I am definitely using a pattern to this instead of just doing it random. And I want to use a cloud image to go over this. And what it's going to do is just break up the whole front of the card to give a little bit more action going on. So I'm using a second generation of the stamp set of the ink. Sorry, and what that means is that you first load the ink onto the stamp, and then you stamp it off. And what that does is it removes part of the ink. But when you use a stamp and stamp it down, there's always residual ink left on the stamp. So if you want to use that color of ink pad, but you want a lighter shade, something more transparent, then that's definitely a way to get you there, is by doing a second generation. Here I am trying to make up my mind if I'm going to cut this panel at 2 inches or 3 inches or 4 inches. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to, once you've made an image, to decide that you're going to chop it. So I did decide I was going to chop it because that was part of the design element. And I can say that I settled on cutting it at 2.5 inches. So the left-hand panel that has the clouds and the Let Us Celebrate measures 2.5 inches wide, and it is the full 5.5 inches tall. Now the second piece that I cut that I will be using is 3/4 of an inch wide, and it is the same 5.5 inches tall as well. I'm using Stampin' Up's foam strips to adhere down instead of dimensionals. Because this is going to be a floating card front, then I need for it to have a lot of stability. I really like Stampin' Up's foam dimensionals. I use them all the time in card making, but these foam strips also have a really good place. And it's not just in making shaker cards. Shaker cards are great, don't get me wrong. The foam strips are invaluable for that. But I think the foam strips can actually go into play in more card making than what I see people using them. So I'm using them in this case to grant stability to this floating card front. So I'm attaching it to the front of the card, and I leave just a smidge, I would say maybe a 1/16 of an inch on the left, because I want to see the pink card base, but I don't want the panel to get lost in the middle of everything. And I did the same thing on the right hand side whenever I attached it. Just left a smidge on the right. These are some clear sparkly sequins from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm using the fine tip glue pen to adhere them with a pair of tweezers. These tweezers are great, and I also use my paper piercing tool from Stampin' Up quite a bit. Thank you guys once again for joining me for another card making tutorial. If you have any special requests, then drop me a line and leave a comment on what type of card you'd like to see or a specific stamp set be demonstrated, and I will be happy to work it into my card making video schedule. I hope to see you in the next video, and I invite you to join me over at my blog at jennystampsup.com for more daily card making inspiration. See you in the next video.